Curtis Calhoun here with MMA News, and right now I am joined by one of the biggest signings by the PFL in recent memory. It's Shane Burgos. He's getting ready to make his PFL debut against Marlon Moraes next month. How's it going, Shane?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. And first things first, you're entering the PFL right in your prime. Obviously, this has probably been a crazy last few months for you. Kind of just take me through this whole process and how pumped are you to be with the PFL?
Oh man, I'm super excited to be at the PFL. They treated me really good. Not that the UFC treated me bad, but it's just a little bit different, a little bit more attention in the PFL. They're really investing in me, so I deeply appreciate that. But yeah, it's been a pretty crazy couple months since I signed with them.
Yeah, and I was about to say too, because the PFL and Pierre Murray, I know you've talked about in other interviews, they were kind of on your radar last time you were in free agency
Yeah.
too, right? So how pumped are you to be with an organization that obviously feels really high about you and wants you to be with the PFL?
Yeah, it's flattering. Like you said last time I did the free agency thing. They were really interested in me, and I ended up staying with the UFC. But that was when I identified as a UFC fighter. And I mean, now I'm 31 years old. I identify as a prize fighter now, man. So that's what I am. That's my job. I'm not a UFC fighter. I'm a prize fighter, and I'm fighting for prize. And at the end of the day, it's apples and oranges when it comes to the pay. And I'm just making so much more money at the PFL that I right decision 100%. There's like hindsight is 2020, and yeah, I made the right decision.
And speaking of flattering too, because a few days after your signing was announced by the PFL, Dana White came out and said that mistakes were made in the negotiations and all that.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's probably got to feel flattering to you, but I
yeah,
guess what's your response to his comments?
yeah, 100% flattering. Not only did he say it was not only did he give me praise for the type of fighter I am, but he gave me praise for the type of person I am. He said I was a really good person too, so that meant a lot to me. He didn't have to say anything about me at all. He could have just been like, all right, whatever. We just didn't want Shane or whatever. He could have said whatever he wanted to say to make himself look good. But he said the truth and what he really felt, and that's flattering, and I deeply appreciate that.
I got you, man. And after your last UFC fight at UFC Long Island, obviously, I feel like a lot of casual MMA fans and even some pundits didn't know that you were on the last fight of your deal. So, kind of just take
Yeah.
me through those first few days after UFC Long Island. Like, were you kind of expecting to test the market either way, regardless of how things played out, or were you expecting to resign?
Yeah, so I didn't make it a secret this time around that it was my last fight of my deal. The first time I did it, I not that it was a secret, but it was a little bit more taboo to fight your deal out back then. So I felt a little bit uneasy about it back then. This time I was a little bit more vocal, a little bit talking about it more in interviews. But yeah, I fully intended to test out the free market agency like I did before, and it worked out, man. It doesn't make sense for a fighter to not test it out. I really don't. Like you get to see what you think you're worth, and you get to see what you know what you think you're worth. And you get to see what others think you're worth too. So it's healthy for the sport too. I feel like it makes the sport grow, not just to have one big dominant promotion like the UFC just running the show. When you have these other guys with skin in the game, it's great for the fighters in the long run, and that's who I'm a fighter. So if I get paid more, I want everybody to get paid more too. Like I'm not one of those guys that's like I want to get paid, but I don't want you to get paid. I don't. Dude, you're bleeding and you're doing this shit too. I understand how hard it is. I want you to get paid like a pro athlete. Like you got these guys playing basketball and football, baseball, and they're making life-changing, insane amounts of money, which they deserve. I have no problem with them making that money. But look what we're doing. It's we're fighting in a cage, getting elbowed, kicked, kneed, punched, and to not be getting paid what like the best in the world should be getting paid is just it's blasphemous to me. So I want to get paid in a what is the quote? A rising tide raises all ships. I want to get paid, but I want everybody else to get paid too. I want us all to. This shit got to be worth it when we're done with it.
Yeah, and the one thing about the PFL too is obviously they've really been investing in the roster. They're bringing on you, Marlon Moraes, Aspen Ladd just signed, Thiago
Yeah.
Santos. What's been kind of your reaction to the signings and kind of the PFL standing in the sport?
Yeah, for sure. I think they're right now they're the number two promotion, and just with all these signings that they've got lately, it shows that they're fighting for that number one spot, just to show the fighters that guys, you want to be in the UFC. I understand that because it's the biggest organization in the world. It's got the biggest name, biggest platform, but don't close the door on these other promotions. Like they look at PFL, we're here and we're fucking legit. Like not only are you going to fight legitimate competition, you're going to be getting paid like a professional athlete.
And I'm sure a big selling point at the PFL too is obviously you got the season format. I guess I want to get your thoughts on the format. Like obviously you have quick turnarounds in between fights, fighting for $1 million at the end of the season. What are your kind of thoughts on what the PFL is doing?
Yeah, for those quick turnarounds, you definitely deserve to be fighting for $1 million, right? Like you're getting a quick turnaround, so you're getting paid for it too. So I love that. It presents a new challenge in and of itself to go from not only the fight but the weight cut. So you got to go from cutting weight to the fight. So you're doing it again in a couple of weeks. So no matter if you're banged up or anything like that, it presents a challenge in and of itself, physically, mentally, emotionally. So I do like the challenge of that.
And obviously you just signed with the PFL, but have you talked to anybody yet in terms of like seeking out that advice for how they handle the quick turnarounds and the weight cuts and all that?
I have not, but that's probably something I should do. I was just gonna take it one fight at a time, deal with this fight. I got this fight in my focus right now, and then go from there.
I got you, man. And commentating, obviously, you've talked a little bit about how you want to get into commentary at some point in your career. Kind of tell us about what the PFL presents to you in terms of those opportunities, and when can we see you on the broadcast?
Yeah, so no date yet set for my commentating debut, but they're having their Challenger series, which is kind of like the Dana White Contender Series, not exactly the same, but a little bit similar, where like you kind of fight to get into the PFL, right? So for those series, and they're going globally, they're going to Europe a bunch of times. So those are the opportunities that I'll be able to commentate, and it's cool to getting to watch up and coming fighters that I might even fight. But not only that, like dude, I love fighting. I love watching fights. I fucking eat, sleep, breathe the sport. So now you're gonna tell me like that's my job to watch the sport and talk about it on air. Like that sounds fucking phenomenal. That's a dream come true right there, man. Like I love fighting, but I also love watching fights too. So you want to pay me to watch a fight and talk about it? Fuck yeah, sign me up.
No doubt about it, man. And Marlon Moraes, obviously an opponent that I'm sure you're a little bit familiar with from your time in the UFC, former 135 pounder, now moving up to featherweight. Are you expecting him to possibly be one of the more faster guys that you faced in your career because he's making that step up?
Yeah, he'll probably have a little bit of a speed advantage or not necessarily advantage, but a little bit of a speed he'll be maybe a little bit faster than some of the guys I fought, but I fought some pretty damn fast fucking guys. I fought Cub Swanson, who's making his 35 debut this week too. So I don't think it'll be anything that shocks me. Like I spar with pro boxers, I spar with guys that are at a high level and smaller guys too. Obviously, because I'm leading up to the fight, fighting a guy that's a little bit shorter. So I'll be prepared for that.
No doubt about it. And I got to get your prediction for Brendan Loughnane and Bubba Jenkins, obviously fighting for the featherweight title on the same card as you as well. How do you see that fight playing out?
It's an awesome fight. It's a great fight. It's pretty much like one of those like classic styles, grappler versus striker matchup. I think that on the feet, Brendan is clearly the better fighter on the feet. On the actual ground, I think that Bubba is probably better, but it's the part where if he can get him to the ground. And Brendan showed some great takedown defense. So if I had to pick, I'm going to go with Loughnane by decision.
Awesome, man. And a few more questions for me. Are you expecting a lot of support over there at Madison Square Garden for this card?
I'm expecting a lot of support no matter where I fight. Honestly, like I got a huge support system, friends, family, like diehard riders. Like it doesn't matter where I fight, but the fact that it's on Black Friday when everybody's off of work already, the fact that it's at MSG, which is only an hour and change from my town, yeah, it's gonna be fucking packed.
Well, more fight prediction from you too. Obviously, UFC 280 coming up, a stacked card. Right there at the top, we got Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. How do you see that fight playing out?
Oh, that's a tough fight, man. That's a really fucking tough fight to pick. I think Charles Oliveira, pound for pound, is the most dangerous fighter in the UFC, though. Pound for pound, he can finish with punches, kicks, knees, elbows, submissions. He can fucking wrestle. I've never seen a guy more well-rounded at being able to finish fights. So super impressed with him with that. But he's fighting Khabib again. It's basically the second coming of Khabib, which is just so hard to pick against. But I've been picking against Charles for his last couple of fights, and I don't know why I keep doing it. I mean, it might be a little bit biased because I'm a Dustin and Chandler fan, but man, he's been looking so fucking good. If I had to pick, if there's a gun to my head had to pick, I'd probably go Islam just because it's a little bit of a safer bet. But man, if there's gonna be a finish, I do think that the finish will come from Charles. So if I had to pick, I'm going Islam, but it's not a confident pick. It's like a 49-51 pick.
No doubt about it. I think a lot of people are in that same boat too, man. Last question for me. What's your message to the PFL fans and what can they expect next month?
You guys know what to expect. I mean, if you've seen any one of my fights, then you guys know exactly what to expect. Just have fun and enjoy the violence.
No doubt about it, man. But before we get you out of here, I'll give you the floor to shout out any sponsors you have, shout out your team, all that good stuff. Shout out your social media if you want, and I'll give you the final word.
You guys follow me on Instagram at Hurricane Shane underscore, Twitter at Hurricane Shane B. Appreciate my team, Team Tiger Showmans, all you guys, my family, my supporters, everybody, and the PFL. Huge opportunity they've given me, and I plan on paying them back with my performance November 25th. Don't miss it, guys.
No doubt about it. Well, Shane, it was great to meet you. Great to chat with you. I'm sure we'll chat again soon, man. And thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Have a good one.